All right, I see 10:30 on my computer screen. If everybody can hear me, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. If I could do a roll call, please, Holly.
Okay. Trace Ken. Patrick Updike.
Present.
Peter Huffman.
Here.
Cindy Hike.
Here.
Tom Lampy.
Present.
Blake Derushi.
Here.
Annette Dunn. Wendy Hess. Was that Wendy?
Yep.
Okay. Andy Buffington. Michelle Bischoff.
Present.
David Ness.
Here.
Jason Schlutenhofer. And Angela Klauser. Let's see. And we do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. Introduction of board members, and we'll start off with Dave Ness, or I'll just read off the agenda. So Blake, you can start off.
So you want me to go instead of the SWIC?
Yeah, I'm just going to go right off the left side here of the agenda. So.
Sorry. I thought you were sorry. Blake Drew, Homeland Security Emergency Management.
Andy Buffington.
Yeah, Andy Buffington, Winnebago and Hancock County Emergency Management Communications.
Angela Klauser, did she eventually sign on or not? I believe so.
I don't see her.
And did Jason end up joining Schlutenhofer? Michelle Bischoff.
Michelle Bischoff, City of Des Moines, representing fire.
Tom Lampy, DPS. Go down to David.
Dave Ness, Des Moines Police, Municipal Police.
Wendy.
Wendy Hess, Woodbury County Communications.
Cindy Hike.
Cindy Hike with the Iowa Department of Public Health.
Good. Peter Huffman.
Peter Huffman, Iowa Department of Transportation.
And I don't remember if Trace signed on or has a representative today.
Yep, I'm here. This is Trace.
Okay. You're representing DNR, correct?
You're correct, sir.
Okay. Patrick Updike.
Patrick Updike, Iowa Department of Corrections.
And anybody from the CIO's office this morning? Do we have any legislative members on the call today? Okay, Chris, you can go ahead and introduce yourself.
Chris Myers on the SWIC, and Mr. Chair, I believe Haley Nichols has signed on in representation of ILEA.
All right. Perfect. Welcome, everybody. We'll get through this as quick as we can. Usually takes a little over an hour and a half, depends on how long people want to talk. So what I'm looking for right now is to get moving on the agenda. So I need approval for today's agenda. If I could get a motion for that, please.
So moved. Bischoff?
Bischoff, second by who?
Huffman.
Huffman is the second. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion for the agenda is approved. Approval of the meeting minutes from August meeting, the 13th of 2020. I get approval for that, please.
So moved, Ness.
Yes. Do I have a second?
Second, Huffman.
Huffman. Further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hearing any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes. SWIC report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, good deal. My report today will be a little bit abbreviated. The past month or so, I've been coordinating quite a bit with external agencies post-derecho. The derecho response took quite a bit of time. I'm sure Jim Lundstead will cover some of the things that we've done as well with that, and Blake DeRushi as well. Coordination during that was done with the HSCMD, CISA, FirstNet, DPS itself, and outside vendors and manufacturers to help get things stood up. We'll cover some more of that during information sharing, I'm sure. Continued to work and assist our various committees as much as they needed it. We've been working on some training stuff with the training committee, and also been doing a lot of other things related to policy development and keeping track of various things that we may have out for public comment at this point, or things that may go out for public comment. Quick update on status board. We did not have any outages to report this past month, so that's good. We're also offering training still for that program for agencies that have not yet had it. And it typically takes about 30 to 60 minutes. And if you haven't signed up for status board access yet, let me know. Report today is a little bit abbreviated because I've been devoting attentions to other parts of this group. So I'll go ahead and stop there and open it up for questions, Mr. Chair.
Is there any questions for the SWIC? All right, thank you, sir. 911 council report.
All right, thank you. The council met earlier today as an update. We do currently have 15 PSAPs migrated to the merged next-gen 911 network that is taking the legacy landline traffic and putting on the next-gen 911 traffic. We did send out an update earlier this week that we are putting future migrations on hold for now. Hopefully it's not too long of a pause. I have 2 or 3 weeks in mind. But we've ran into problems where local telcos alley data, that is the location data, is not populating in the Comtech statewide alley database. Couple reasons for that. Some just might not be provisioning their information there, and in some it might be a translation or porting of information wrong, or kind of more of a technical issue. So we are working through that, and the result of that issue is that there are a handful of wireline calls being default routed. When there is no alley record found, rather than being delivered to the appropriate PSAP, it default routes, which right now is DPS State Radio. Of course, that is not ideal. And we're working to quickly remedy that. There's about 3 or 4 different kind of paths that we're pursuing to get that fixed as soon as possible. But did want to make everyone aware of that. And Tom, you can certainly weigh in. I don't think it's a debilitating amount of calls that are being default routed, but it's certainly not ideal. And that's the reason for the pause, not wanting to compile or compound the issue by migrating more PSAPs. Tom, did you have anything for me on that?
No, it's not debilitating as long as we don't get a winter storm. Now, if it would be a winter storm, it would be a problem.
I really hope it's fixed by then. It should be. So then the other update for a couple other things from 911. We had talked in the past about the host remote call taking environment that a number of PSAPs are on. It's kind of the state sponsored program for call handling equipment. We are implementing a solution using FirstNet to ensure connectivity between the host and the remotes. In theory, if ICN has a maintenance window or outage, those remote PSAPs would still receive all of their information, all their calls, everything as if there was no issue at all through that connectivity. That was supposed to be turned up in August with the first PSAP going live, again with the derecho, and then pausing the migrations. That's been delayed a little bit as well. The first county we're anticipating will now be the end of September to be in that new environment with extra added redundancy. And then we'll retrofit PSAPs after that, but the first live turn up will be the end of September in that. The other thing that I wanted to mention, the council approved a training for ILEA that I think is particularly good timing That will be offered in May, and that course is Cultural Diversity, ripped from the headlines. I'm sure Haley and IOEA will get more information out about it as the date gets closer, but just wanted to kind of put that on folks' radar. Certainly a good, timely training that will be offered coming up in May, hopefully in person, but has the virtual capability as well if necessary. If it's up to the chair, I can also give an update on the derecho from kind of the Homeland Security perspective, or I can wait till information sharing. It's up to you.
Sorry, I was on mute. Go ahead and continue.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, and just to kind of piggyback on what Chris said, the State Emergency Operations Center was active for about 3 weeks for the derecho. A lot of that was working with the utilities board as well as the electric utilities to get power restored. But there were a number of issues with internet backhaul, cell phone towers being down for various reasons, be it power or that backhaul. And there were probably some lessons learned and some work to be done in that area. I especially want to thank Jim Lundstedt for his assistance in getting the FCC's disaster reporting tool activated. That's a tool that's normally active for hurricanes. So, in those states, it's a well-oiled machine. We kind of had to feel our way through the dark to get that system activated. But it really gives us a much better look at what communications assets are impacted and the reasoning behind those impacts. So that system, it's a voluntary reporting tool, but it was up and operational and very helpful for about 7 days. That really helped us. We are having a strategizing session with the utilities board, and that is probably the precursor to a larger discussion on emergency communication, probably a little bit more focused on cell phone and backhaul and making sure we have right points of contact, making sure we kind of know who's who, should this type of event happen again, who do we contact with cell phone providers to make sure those communication assets get restored a little bit quicker, especially with everyone working from home. Just internet access was a big issue. And of course, anytime you say the word regulate along with the word internet, people's radar goes up. But, at least knowing who to talk to in order to get the internet back up in communities was certainly an issue. So again, kind of a preliminary discussion with the utilities board and then probably a larger discussion. And I would anticipate at least the SWIC being involved in that down the road. So I'll certainly take any questions on the derecho or anything 911 related at this time.
So Blake, we got some new board members. Just real quickly, could you give us the 50,000 foot level approach for our new board members to understand when you say 15 PSAPs have migrated to NG911, could you explain?
Yeah, absolutely.
To the board
absolutely.
members?
So Homeland Security Emergency Management has had kind of, I would say, the jurisdiction to manage wireless 911 traffic really since wireless became a thing. And there is a thing called Next Gen 911 that really goes into eventually being able to send videos and pictures. It already includes being able to send texts to 911. It's just more data-rich information that comes with the 911 call. And there's a lot of work, a ton of work that has to go into that. Work for the network, work at the carrier level, and work at the PSAP or answering point, dispatch, if you will. So we've historically had authority over the wireless network. And we've been in a process the last handful of years of putting the legacy wireline network onto that next generation high-speed IP-based network as well. So for the most part, a lot of that wireline infrastructure is copper. It's old technology. It's solid as a rock until it gets cut, and then you have issues. What the Next Gen 911 network allows us to do is instantly reroute those 911 calls to a different PSAP, or really wherever we want them to be at the time if there's a disaster or what have you. So those wireline calls are kind of treated the same as wireless calls, and there's a lot of players involved. There's 150 wireline telcos providers. Some of them are large, some of them are quite small. So working with all of those entities to migrate that traffic onto, again, the high-speed internet-based network is kind of an ongoing project. And like Tom referenced and I said earlier, we have 15 of those 113 PSAPs migrated. We're taking what hopefully is just a quick pause and still hope to finish up around January and then have all those PSAPs connected, both wireline and wireless, to the next generation network.
Okay. And one more quick thing. So you were saying if the ICN goes down, then FirstNet is the backup supposed to go live here soon, but the delay, if I understand that. So you're talking the ICN down at the PSAP level?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So the connectivity from the ICN at the PSAP, basically. Yep.
So that takes some type of a wireless modem to get to the FirstNet network and then pipe it into. Okay. So it's similar to what I'm doing with the mobile command. I just met
it's exactly the same.
Yep, I did. I just met with ICN Tech last week, and I can't believe how simple it's just a little modem.
Yep.
And then it plugs into my network in the mobile command, which then the software takes over. So that answers my question.
It's exactly the same, and right now we're doing that specifically for the host remote PSAPs. So, like the DPS PSAPs, like about the 20 PSAPs that have kind of stripped down their backroom equipment, and it's really connected to a host equipment. Not ruling out casting that net a little wider in the future, but right now it's just those shared service PSAPs.
Okay. Any more questions? Are you done, Blake, or did you have some more?
Nope, I am done, pending any questions.
Okay. All right, we'll move on then to the user group committee, Chair Buffington.
Thank you. UGC met about 3.5 weeks ago. The Thursday after our last board meeting, I was unable to attend due to some other obligations. So thankfully, Vice Chair Dennert took over and always did a great job. Just to remind the committee members, the board members, that if anyone is really interested in chairing a user group committee, I know a chair that doesn't have the time to devote to the UGC right now that I should. So I am looking for a replacement for UGC chair. So other than knowing that we have 3 applications to consider yet this morning under new business, 2 updates and a new level 2 user. Since I wasn't on the call, I don't have any direct knowledge of any pertinent discussions, but if either Swick Myers or Mr. Dennert's on the call and want to elaborate on anything, I would yield to them. If not, we can move on.
I think it's very important that if somebody we need to have somebody step up and take that role that Andy's describing as the chair of the UGC. That's a very important piece of the Isicsb process and joining. And I know it pays you well, doesn't it, Andy?
It does. It does. You double my salary every year. So I appreciate that.
So if we could, let's work on that. If somebody could step up and do that, that would be great. It has to be a board member to be on the standing committee to be a chair of it. The vice chair could be anybody from the public safety area, and the members can be anybody, but the chair has to be a board member. So if anybody's interested, we'll keep working on that. But that's one of I think it should be at the top of our list to try to get that filled, because Andy does need to move on from that. All right, we're down to Finance Committee. Swick Myers, we have that filled from last board meeting yet? Do we have any interest in that chair person yet?
I have not had someone commit to that chair yet. I've talked to an individual or 2 about that, and I'm still waiting on kind of how things are playing out for their current employment to see how that's going to fit in with everything. Made some progress, just don't have anything definitive yet.
Okay. Can you go ahead, there's a report published and all the figures published?
Yep.
That's the important thing.
All the financial documents are posted on the website, I believe, and they all went out with the documents for this meeting, specifically for the board's financials. The expenditures for August for the Interoperable and Broadband Communications Fund were $4,794. The ending balance for that fund is $249,123. Monthly expenditures during August for SLEEK P2 were $10,588, and of that amount, 8,470 were federal expenditures, and the remaining amount available from the grant is $200,087,485. Does the board have any questions regarding the activities or financial positions of the Interoperable Broadband Communications Fund or SLEEK P 2.0?
I do have one. I was not on our regular quarterly call with Carolyn Dunn, our SLEEK P representative. Can you fill the board members on how that meeting went? Was there any review that needed to be done when Carolyn was on there? It's a regular quarterly call, but it discusses our needs and our expenditures. Is there anything that you could share with the board members on how that meeting went?
Yeah, we had our normally quarterly call with Carolyn Dunn from NTIA. NTIA is the one that oversees the SLEEK P2 grant. We had Holly Davidson on the call along with a couple of representatives from DPS. We discussed the fact that everything seems okay with our grant so far. Our soft match numbers appear to be there, and we went over the number of governance meetings that we've had throughout that time period. Discussed a little bit about the grant starting to near its ending phases. I know Carolyn had said that NTIA is looking at what that closeout time frame looks like for them as we start to near the end of this grant as well. But that's the gist of the meeting. Nothing super profound came out of that. It was more just a status quo status update.
Okay, good. All right. Is there any other questions for finance? Okay, we'll move on to governance. Chair Huffman.
Okay, the governance committee met yesterday. The item of official business was the audible alert tone standard. The purpose of that standard is to establish a policy that will designate specific alert tones to types of transmissions on interoperability resources, such as the regional call talk groups. There were no governance issues. It didn't seem to be contrary to any current standards, policies, rules, or procedures. So the committee wished to move that forward to the board for voting.
Is that on today's agenda, or are you still not done with it?
We're done with it. I don't know if it made it to the agenda.
I don't think it did.
Yeah,
I don't think it did. It did?
Not on the agenda today. The agenda and associated documents had to be released to the board by 10:30 yesterday. The governance committee had not concluded its meeting at that time yet. So that standard missed the 24-hour window, so it will be on the agenda for next month.
That's perfect. That's fine.
Yeah, we normally meet on the Monday before the meeting, but it was Labor Day, and I predicted low attendance if we were to meet on Monday. So it was moved to the next available calendar date, which turned out to be yesterday at 11. So barely missed it, but we did miss the 24-hour period.
No worries. No worries. We get it. We'll get it. All right. Is that it?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Operations.
The operations committee continues to meet. Topic of conversation currently is memorialization of the talk group names and how and where that should take place. Much conversation and deliberation over how best to approach that, and we're conferring with technology as part of that conversation, but that's the work of operations this month.
Okay. Is there any questions for operation? All right, Swick Myers, are you handling the outreach piece?
Yeah, I can. Want to remind everybody that our next Isicsb training and FirstNet outreach session is scheduled to take place in Boone at the public library on September, I believe, 29th. That will cover the use of the consulates and control stations that were given out to Region 1 PSAPs. And it will also include some information on FirstNet and some training on status boards. So that outreach event is still available for sign up. I don't have the numbers in front of me on the number of people that have signed up just yet, but that's been the primary focus at this point.
Okay. Well, is it on the calendar on the board website for that?
I believe it is.
Yeah.
Yes, Holly, I was going to point to you for that one.
Yeah, it's on there.
Okay,
And
perfect.
as of now, we have about 22 people, I believe, registered. So.
All right. We'll move on to training committee. Swick Myers, is there anything on that?
Yeah, there's some stuff to report. I'm happy to notify the board that we have a vice chair that is a member of the training committee that has accepted the role of vice chair. Rhonda Broadus, I think I saw you on the phone a little bit earlier today. Are you still here?
I am.
Would you like to give the training?
Hey guys. Absolutely. So last month we met via phone, August 26th, and we discussed the pursuit training module. We were talking about some type of training to also cover how communications can handle some large structure fires in addition to modules for some standards. There's two classes that are coming up. One is standard operating procedures, communications plan review and development. That's going to be on September 15th and 16th. There are two portions of it, both from 8 o'clock to 11:30 each day. We currently have 25 people signed up from that. An email with the go-to-meeting information should be sent out today. There's also the encryption planning and usage for technical staff on September 30th. That's going to be from 12:30 to 1600 hours, and we currently have 10 people signed up for that.
Perfect. I know this is an important committee to keep up with. There's a lot of work, so we appreciate you stepping up. One thing that I want to make sure that we cover on that committee is looking, and I've talked to Swick Myers about this before, and I brought it up to the board. We have to ensure that all the policies and protocols that we have created, we take a look at those to see if there's anything in our policies and protocols that require a certain amount of training on the Isicsb system, so that we don't miss out that we're supposed to be doing something that their own policy that we created, which was created off best practices from another state, that didn't put us in a position where it's going to cost us a lot of money. And if it does, we'll have to plan for that. But we got to make sure that all those are covered, so we're covering our obligations for training based on the policy we created.
All right, I will get on that. And do you have a timeline that you'd like to see that completed?
No. I'd say, the next 6 months would be fine. I don't think it's a rush, but I think it would be worth looking at something that if there's something imminent that we really need to jump on now, yes. But other than that, I think for a complete picture of it, that you've looked through all the policies, I think 6 months is a good start.
Got it. I will take care of that.
Okay. All right, let's move on to technology. Chair update.
Thank you. Technology met on August 27th and September 1st, and you should have some documentation regarding VLaw 31 and VCall 10. Going to kind of be all over the place here. But once I explain this, it's all going to come back to the same location. So with regards to VLaw 31, there had been some discussions, I believe, through operations, definitely technology, about pulling the receive CTCSS tone from the ICS 217A form. Currently, VLaw 31 has a CTCSS tone of 156.7 on both transmit and receive. Based on some survey information that was collected in the past, the idea was that it would be better served for people to just remove that CTCSS tone from the receive side of VLAW 31. Chris, I don't know, do you want to go through some of your survey information and explain some of that to the board?
Yeah. Here, let me pull the information up here quick. But if you think back, this has kind of been on the to-do list for a while now. This was brought to our attention by a couple of agencies that had some concerns about the use of VLAW 31 and it not necessarily working the way they had hoped when an agency was trying to work with another agency, both using VLAW 31. But because of the way it was programmed into the radio, they were unable to talk to each other. So what we did was we sent a survey out to collect information on VLAW 31. We had approximately 58 responses. And of those 58 responses, we asked some specific questions about the type of disciplines they represented. 22% of the responses were from law enforcement. Interestingly enough, 22% were also from fire. 19% were from communication centers, 17% was EMS, 15% was emergency management, and then we had a smattering of other responses for VLAW 31 use in Iowa. Asked a simple question of, do you have something like VLAW 31, law aid, mutual aid, or aid programmed into their radios? 57 out of 58 responses said yes, and then from there we went into some specifics on what they have programmed in there for tones. We did have several agencies using the C-squelch tone, open receive, various PL tones. For some of the agencies that border other states, they had it in there with something else as well. So we did have quite an array of responses with how VLAW 31 was programmed into radios. Some have the recommended tone of 156.7 on transmit and nothing on receive. Others have no idea how it's programmed into their radios. So when you start looking at all the different types of answers we got, that does kind of lend itself to the notion that, hey, we could be setting ourselves up for a little bit of hurt if we don't kind of wrap our heads around this. So from there, we dove into it a little bit deeper and asked where they got their information for programming. 31% were using a state policy on VLAW 31. 17% were using the NIFOG, 11% were using radio reference, and 7% were using the NIFOG 1.4 version. And then there was a smattering of other types of responses, ranging from we just let our vendor do it to not sure, it's just always been there. So given that, we kind of started looking at this, Patrick, and I'm going to pass it back to you here for a second. Given the fragmentation of the programming of at least the receive side on VLAW 31, it seemed like the best answer was to update any recommendations from the board to leave the receive side open. So Patrick, I'll go ahead and pass it back to you.
Okay, and so that's why the board members got the Isicsb Technology Committee statement to update the Isicsb ICS 217A form. If you read that, it kind of reminds everybody that the Isicsb MC 12B policy kind of oversees the ICS 217A, which allows the technology committee to update that. So if you read through that, it's also going to touch on some other things that we discussed in our meetings. And one of the things that came up with the ICS 217A forms was, why is the regional interoperability talk groups not listed on that? There's still some ongoing discussions about doing that. One of them, my concern is the confidentiality aspect of it, but we're digging into that to see if it would be the right thing to do to add the Isicsb interop talk groups to that list. And we also know that the air to ground channels could possibly be added to that, but since that's still in a comment period, the ultimate decision was to go ahead and wait till these other things work themselves out, and then in November, we, the technology committee, would update the ICS 217A form to reflect the removal of the CTCSS tone on VLAW 31, and then if the air-to-ground channels become approved, we would list those. We're not necessarily so much obligated for the interoperability talk groups right now, but if that does pass muster, then they would be added in November as well. That's hence the document that you're looking at for that. Do you want to add any more, Chris?
No, I think you summarized it pretty well.
Okay, so the next thing, I want to say it was 8-10 months ago, the topic of vCall 10 and the other interoperability VHF conventional channels came up. And so we hashed through all of the rules and regulations, how we could use them in lieu of the LEA towers, knowing that they were going to go away. And ultimately we decided that, you know, let's just look at vCall 10 as a potential use for some interoperability ideas since LEA is going away. So we let it sit on the back burner for quite a while. We didn't do too much with it. I just let it sit there and stew for a while. And so when I was talking to some people, they gave me some things to think about. And so I went ahead and wrote up this Isicsb Technology Committee for recommendation for vCall 10. And so basically, if you read this, it kind of gives you a brief history of LEA, the LEA towers, where they're at, the fact that they're going to be retired, and it kind of gives you some ideas of potential usage through soft patches, etc., that could be advantageous for PSAPs that are still using and plan to use VHF and VHF only potentially. And so the technical recommendation is, and I don't know how much you want me to go through this because it's kind of lengthy, but the technology committee is recommending, if you read this document, that vCall 10 be used in PSAPs for additional interoperability capabilities. And I guess I'll ask the chair what he would like to see out of this discussion regarding this document.
Well, I think that we all see it on the screen, but it's not on the agenda for any approval. So what I would do is get something formal that you want the board to approve, and then we'll put it for public comment and go through that process. As long as you understand what you're given a good brief of what your intent is. So an official document with on the board letterhead for the next meeting would be probably appropriate.
Okay, fair enough. Other than that, any questions? I guess that'll wrap that up. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Pat. All right, we'll move on to FirstNet Broadband Committee, Chair Bischoff.
Yes, the FirstNet Broadband Committee met this week and received updates from AT&T regarding their deratio response. I won't go into any detail on that, as I know that they are planning to give an abbreviated presentation during during the report to the board. It was a very lengthy conversation, and there were lots of lots of questions that brought to light perhaps some misaligned expectations as to what it is that the when we opted in and had our state contract, some definition of some words as to what really is public safety grade. So we're going to start to work through some of that with AT&T and FirstNet and the committee to hopefully either identify that yes, there is some misunderstandings, or no, we're all on the same page. But we need to figure that out. So I think what some users expected and what they experienced were misaligned. So we'll work through that. But for that reason, we were unable to get to the FirstNet letter For Southwest Iowa, that was tabled due to the length of the meeting. We ran an hour over, and there were many key players that needed to attend to other meetings. So we will take that up next month. Any questions for me regarding FirstNet? Thank you.
All right, thank you. Chair Suffelbeam or Sheriff Rotter, are you on the call for the LEA committee report?
I'm here. And I am very pleased to be able to tell the board that we're seeing very little traffic on the LEA channels due to the activity logs that we're able to pull from state radio. It's showing significant progress moving the LEA traffic to the new Isicsb system. Right now, we believe we are on target for the November 1st due date for the tower conversion. We also received some updates on the control stations. We've been told that all the testing, there's been testing with all the agencies, and test calls have been answered. They're doing the training class in September that Swick-Myers just mentioned, and the committee also has been trying to reach out, and if there's any PSAPs in their areas, let them know that this training is open for them. If they want to attend, they just need to register. We also have one other county that we're monitoring right now. This is due to some issues that they were having, and they are using a spare control station, but it does not seem to be an issue right now because they have the control station. The last thing is the LEA announcements are going out as scheduled. We have not received any complaints from anybody using the new system instead of the LEA channels. The only thing is they cannot wait until the announcements stop. So that's about all I have for the report from the LEA committee. Is there any questions?
Connie, what I will tell the group is there's no complaints, and I'm excited to hear the broadcast now on all the regionals. I think one good complaint we get is now we hear too much, right? Because there's a bigger area now. And I think that will settle down with time. But the one thing that we're on top of now is just recently come up in the last couple of weeks is some of the control stations' audio levels are blowing the radios out of the earshot. I mean, it's just really loud. So there's settings that we need to that we're working on right now with that PSAP and the vendor who has the control station to get those audio levels at an appropriate level. One county will be perfect, and then the next county, if you had your volume at the same level on your radio, it'll blow your speakers out. So there's ways to do that, and so we are working on that piece. But that's really the only complaints that we've had is the maybe too much traffic we're hearing now. We're not used to that, and I truly believe that they're just not used to it because we had to cover as much as the Isicsb does, and the audio levels is a minor thing, but we're on top of that. So for the group to know that we're working with the vendors on those to get those audio levels so it doesn't blow everybody out of the water when that broadcast comes across. That's all I got.
Are there any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Okay. Okay, we're on to other reports. In the first section there, information sharing among board members. Of course, I always have stuff, but I'm going to let everybody else go first. So anybody that has information to share amongst the board members, feel free at this time.
Hey, Mr. Chair, this is Chris.
Yeah.
Did you want to kind of give a joint briefing on some derecho response that we have going on with the SDR trailers at this time?
Sure. So as part of the derecho, there's quite a bit of damage in one area in particular was Clinton County where their tower collapsed. So we had to, and it was the VHF tower that they were using to serve a certain area of Clinton. Of course, now that hole is there, so the radios are trying to hit another tower that's giving them a lot of issues with coverage. So the STR trailer is over there right now, and what it's doing is it's providing the coverage for the hole, and now that we've got the modem configured so the STR trailer radio can communicate to the core direct. In essence, what you've got now is an extra site on Isicsb that's filling in the hole in that area. Now, the mobile coverage for Isicsb around the Clinton area is fine. It's the portable coverage with the terrain there that was suffering. Not only there's some on street, but when you get in the building, you're in real trouble. So what that Isicsb trailer is doing now is it's providing that hole in Isicsb for the portable on street and the in-building coverage as a temporary fill until Clinton gets back on their feet with what they want to do with their radio system over there. So that's a positive thing that we accomplished, and I had sent the email a week or so ago, or 2 weeks now almost, about getting approval to spend that money to get that modem in that 6-pack trailer for STR, similar to what we did with the mobile command, so that the system recognizes that as another site, so your radio will roam to it naturally instead of having to worry about site trunking. So that was a big deal, and it's really providing a lot of good coverage there, but it's not a permanent solution. So that is erected right now over there, and DPS is assisting them, Clinton PD and all the entities, with temporary radio programming. We programmed the radios for them that they're replacing, and we shipped them over there. We got just a few left, and we're delivering them probably within the next few days. So we're trying to get them back on their feet with some officer safety issues and in building with fire and police. And that's Isicsb trailer has really come into play this time for very important reasons. So I appreciate the board's response quickly on the email I sent. And we got that done in a quick turnaround. And thanks to Motorola for getting that done as quickly as it needed to be done. It was a very quick turnaround and a big ask at a short amount of time. But as we all know, we don't always plan this stuff. So that's what's going on over there right now.
Yep. And in total, I think DPS programmed right around 130 to 140 radios for Clinton for their use at this point. We also have an STR trailer currently deployed in Atkins, Iowa. That's providing some VHF assistance and coverage for them related to their local operations. There's no definitive term on how long either of these trailers will be deployed in the field, but they are currently out and supporting the locals as they were intended to do. So
good. So that money was well spent, and I'm glad that we could provide that. So, does anybody else have anything else? All right, now for the good stuff. All right, it's probably a little difficult one for me, but October 29th will be my last day with DPS. I'm retiring officially as a sworn officer. That wasn't a decision that just dropped out of the sky. The commissioner and I have been working and knew that someday I was going to retire. I'm really kind of past my retirement eligibility date. I put in a few more months on the sworn side, putting into the retirement system, but I thought it was maybe time to quit contributing to the retirement system because it's not benefiting out of my paycheck anybody else, but everybody else but me. So I'm going to start drawing from that. So as far as the 29th of October is concerned, I'll be out of the sworn role October 29th. That'll be my last day at DPS. So that means that October 9th will be, October 8th will be my last board meeting here. So as you know, this is going to have some impact on the board for leadership at the chair and vice chair level. It also has an impact at the system administrator level, at the DPS level. Currently, as you all know, DPS is designated as the system administrator, and I've filled that role since we pretty much got this thing moving, and it's really moving along quickly. And I've established a staff within DPS that maybe some don't know, that we could see this coming, so we established and got some FTEs switched around from engineers or from Comtex to engineers, and designated as assistant system administrators, and I have 5 of those. And that's the little gremlins that work behind the scenes on getting your talk groups to you, your system key to program your radios, your consulates, and all that, and maintaining that massive database of, right now is 19,000 radios, and soon to be 20,000 here in the next 6 months or less. So that piece we're working on at in the commissioner's office level of that system administrator really needs to be attended to. So what I have done is I've offered the commissioner, after I retire from the sworn side, to assist with that transition for not really longer than 6 months. I would like to do, but because I would like to experience some type of a retirement myself, to see what that feels like with no stress, but if that's possible. But my heart and soul has been into making sure that our staff and DPS, as far as the system administrator piece, and getting the Genesis rolled up and monitoring the system and getting your needs met with your talk groups, and all that stuff goes on. And I'm not sure that people really understand the work that has to take place to keep the system like this, which is a monster, functioning on a day-to-day basis. The closer we get, we're kind of spoiled right now because we're still into the contract. So we call Melvin or Joel or any of those people to come fix it. Well, they're still going to fix it and fix it, but the operational side on how things work, my staff has been trained on that. They've been certified by Motorola to go through system administrator school, including myself. I went through to be designated as so you can run this thing. So I told the commissioner I would help assist with that for the new person coming in to fill that role, but it would be on a civilian side. So we'll see what happens with that. But that is my offer. But so I'm not going away, but I am retiring from the sworn position, and we'll see how that develops. It's not something I dropped. Like I said, I didn't drop on and walk in his office and just drop it on his desk and say I'm retiring and walking out the door. Good luck. So there's a lot of things that you reach your point in your career after 35. I got 32 years in the DPS, and I got 35 in law enforcement in general, starting from a very small town, working up way through to the state patrol, and then eventually to where I'm at today. So it's a tremendous amount of responsibility as a system admin, and as we move forward, because when system acceptance occurs, things will change. So you need to have somebody in there and to keep this thing moving. So I've offered to help with that transition. So you'll be in good hands. So there's no worries there as far as keeping moving forward. So that's my announcement. I don't have anything else really to share, but yeah, that's where we're at.
This is Dave Ness. I've got a quick comment in response to that, Chair.
Sure.
Well, I'd just like to, I think I can speak for the board in expressing our appreciation for your dedication and service for the Isicsb system. Nearing 10 years, I understand your involvement, I think longer than most of us. And as a new DPS, I can tell the group that as a new DPS commissioner was selected, I spoke to him, Mr. Baines, a couple years ago, and emphasized the importance of the system admin, both recognizing its importance to statewide interoperability, and then of course to the operable or the daily needs of DPS, DNR, DOT, etc. So if it meets the, I guess I should start by saying, thanks again for the tremendous dedication and work you've provided, but also for your willingness to hang on a little longer in a reduced capacity, if so desired, to make sure there is a smooth transition and no ball gets dropped to your successor. So toward that end, if the board would approve or support this idea, I would suggest that I work with Holly or Chris or somebody to draft a brief memo, or maybe an email would suffice, to Commissioner Baines offering Isicsb encouragement and support through the transition, that if there is anything they need, ultimately it's DPS that fills the role of and has the expertise to fill the role of system admin. But if they would need a reminder of how critical that is, I'd like to suggest that it is crucial to not only our group of volunteers, but the emergency responders throughout the state. I'd like to remind him of that. I'm sure he's fully aware, and then offer our assistance if it would be desired as they move forward in the process. So I'd just throw that out to the group and listen to any comment on that.
This is Peter Huffman from the Iowa DOT, and I would support making a formal statement about that.
Excuse me, this is Michelle Bischoff, and I would also support that. And congratulations, Lieutenant Lampy.
Thanks. I will tell you, I had a lump in my throat the entire time I was in his office. I think 10 years just kind of hit me at that minute. Am I really sitting here saying these words, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
But I can't go from, I just can't leave, I can't leave it hanging. But the sworn side, I can leave on that side. And until you're a police officer, you don't understand it. That's a tough decision as well. But it is also, you know, when it's time with all the training and the things that you have to keep up with to stay sworn is kind of overwhelming at this point. Doing both work that I do, trying to keep up with all that training, it isn't working out, and I'm eligible, and I think I'm going to take advantage of that piece of it anyway.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's blaming you, but we're not necessarily happy that it's happening.
Yeah. Totally support your decision and the reasons that you're making it, but at the same time, exceptionally sad to see you go, and greatly appreciate all your contributions to this board and to the system, and to really communications throughout the state. I don't think anyone has a full appreciation for everything you've done.
Well, I did have black hair before when I started. All black, jet black. And I have mixed. It's fun. You got to have a passion for it. It's fun at one point, but there's days where, oh my gosh, you know. But we have come a long ways, and it isn't just me. It's everybody. All the committees that we formed, all the working groups, the organization that took place to get all our policies and protocols. I didn't do all that. Everybody took their own role, and to see it develop to where it's at today it just gives me great pleasure. So I just want to make sure it's a smooth transition when I'm done with the sworn piece is what was my goal is. And I told the commissioner that I said I can't leave it hanging after that date. So the offer was there, and we'll see how he handles that.
Tom, this is Patrick Updike.
Yeah.
I just wanted to tell you thanks for giving me the opportunities that I've had over the last 9 years, getting to work with you. I'll just keep it short. I just want to thank you and say I appreciate everything you've done for me.
You bet. I see a lot of talent, a lot of people, and I go towards that talent. You're one of them that has the talent to do what you're doing. And you put in a lot of time and a lot of passion. I know you're passionate about it, and that really shows when you do your reports but you got to understand what you're talking about, and you certainly do. So.
Good luck.
Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda is the Motorola Project Manager update. Is Melvin on the phone today?
I am.
Okay, go ahead with your report, Melvin.
All right. So we were able to complete the coverage testing. Last time we tabulated the results. We tested throughout the entire state exactly 83,886 test tiles, and we passed at 99.4%. So obviously we met the coverage requirement of 95% and exceeded that. With the last two counties that remained was Sioux and Lyon County, which once we had the site up and running, we were able to complete that. So we've completed the documentation. It's a 52 meg file. We've turned that over to the state. It's 2,570 pages long, and it has coverage results on a county by county basis, and it has the maps that show what the coverage results look like as well. In addition to that, we provided a multi-terabyte hard drive that has all the supporting information, including every single audio file. So if there's a desire in the future to go back and listen to a particular tile, you have the ability to do that as well. Beyond that, the last things that we had been working on was we finished walking all the sites, and we had some punch list items, physical, so we got those punch list items resolved, and we were just in the process of reviewing the paperwork with the state. So we've been having multiple calls to go over those documents, and right now that's all that remains to be done. In terms of the storm, we completed all of the fixes to keep things operational. We have some sites where the LMR antennas were turned somewhat tilted because of the winds from the derecho. So we're in the process of dealing with that. But beyond that, the overall system pretty much done. The generators ran from the derecho. We had about 9 sites with generators running, and then they started, as power was returned back, we started seeing some of those be turned off. Cedar Rapids, which is the DSR core, was the one that remained running the longest. I believe we ran for, it was in excess of a week. I can't remember exactly what that number was, but we definitely ran in excess of a week. And that one, we actually had to refuel the tank just in case, but everything remained operational and in good shape. That's really all I have. We are pretty much done. We just got to finish the paperwork and get the system acceptance so that we can transition into service mode.
All right, thanks, Melvin. Been a long road, but we're almost there. Now the busy starts. All right, FirstNet AT&T update. Is there a FirstNet or AT&T rep today?
Hi, Tom. This is David. I'm going to yield my time to the Northern Plains manager and some folks that he has invited, Mr. Danny Noble. And real quick, before you start, Danny, it's been a pleasure to work with you the past year, Tom, and thank you for everything you've done. I'm proud to say that you're my friend also. So thanks again for everything.
Thanks, Dave. You bet. You got my same feelings. You've been a great resource for us here.
Good morning. Thanks, David. Thank you, Chair Lampy. Thanks for the time. So as mentioned, we provided an update to the FirstNet subcommittee on Tuesday, and we thought it'd be very important to provide this group an update as well. So we have 3 people on today, and they'll quickly talk through how we performed and reacted during the derecho, and then some plans moving forward. So I've asked Stacy Schwartz to join us today. She's our vice president that oversees the entire FirstNet program at AT&T nationally. So she'll kick us off, and then I'll have Ryan Fields from our response operations group go, and then we'll finish up today with Andy Sackrader, who I think most of you know is our radio access network director for the Northern Plains, including Iowa. So Stacy, if you could kick us off, that would be great.
Sure. First of all, I wanted to thank you all for allowing us to participate in your agenda. Stacy Schwartz, I'm the Vice President responsible for public safety and FirstNet on a national basis for AT&T. I support Danny and his team and our extended team that is represented here today on the call. I just wanted to make sure that I had just a moment or two to give you my perspective. Wanted to make sure you understand how important our response and our continued improvement post the derecho is to myself, to my leadership, and to our organization. We take this very seriously. We feel that there are always things we can do better, and we certainly saw some gaps in the way we were able to take care of your community during and after the derecho. And the team that we have on today was assembled after Danny brought us together to make sure that we had an after-action plan to make sure that we can reinstill confidence in all of you relative to some of the areas where we exposed gaps in our ability to support you. So I'm on for a couple minutes now just to open up, but I did want to reassure you that I have Danny's back, his team, and that we will continue to push forward to make sure we have you have your complete and utter satisfaction in our response. So thanks again, and I appreciate you all listening to the rest of the team as we walk through our improvement plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy.
Brian.
Can you hear me okay, Danny?
Yep, we can. Go ahead.
Perfect. All right, great. Thank you, Stacy, and thank you all for, again, allowing us to come on. My name is Ryan Fields. I'm a member of the FirstNet Response Operations Group. As you all may know, the 7 are a part of the public-private partnership with FirstNet Authority and AT&T. Were in place in the contracts when we signed back in 2017. We built a purpose-built, dedicated public safety team to manage those assets and get those out the door within the 14-hour required time frame. That team consists of all previous public safety practitioners, myself being in fire, EMS, and emergency management, and the rest of our team are all built to support you in public safety in your time of need. So that response operations group, our ROG team, has been active for the better part of 2.5 years now. And we were very active at the very onset of the derecho as it started coming through. We have a dedicated meteorologist that's on staff with AT&T in our AT&T Weather Operations Center. We got an immediate flash notice in advance of the storm stating that Iowa in particular was going to be very hard hit by the storm. As soon as we received that flash notice, we reached out to Danny, his peers, and his direct reports, and advised them, as they had already known, of course, that the storm was coming in, that we would be activating our emergency response process for that. So Danny got his crew set up and ready to respond. In addition to that, our ROG team reached out to the Network Disaster Recovery Team, who operates our deployable assets. They started leveraging their teams, getting people mobilized, and moved a total of 9 deployables into the theater to support public safety. Our Global Technology Operations Center, which is basically our logistics hub, was able to get on with our construction engineering and our radio access network team and begin the process, both in advance of and after the storm, of triaging what sites we have that may have had problems. And then we prioritized the 103 generators that we deployed for this storm for FirstNet sites and FirstNet customers that were affected first. So that was one of our primary objectives. And then from there, we deployed and had a total of 7 requests for service from FirstNet customers, deployed a total of 3 SAT Colts in support of them. And in addition to that, as I said, we had a total of 9 sat calls that we brought into theater, so we had 6 extras that were available. Going forward, for all of you, if you need to reach out to us, you can of course reach out to Danny Noble or his peers in the area that can assist in procuring the resources necessary to get it deployable. And if you can't for some reason reach Danny, we have a 24/7 number, 1-800-574-7000. They will take your information and that will come directly to my team, and we will get that deployable moving on your behalf once we've walked through that. So I will pause there and hand it over to Andy Sackrider to discuss some more details on that, and happy to answer questions once he's complete.
Sure. Thanks, Ryan. So I'm just going to quickly cover some more specifics about the network impact during the event. Overall, our voice traffic during the event, in particular the 3 days afterwards, our voice traffic was up 20% overall, which is quite a large amount, and then the data traffic was up even more at 25%. So we certainly saw a large increase in traffic. Over the week of recovery, we saw that kind of tail back down, but we have not yet returned to our summer run rate. We're still running between 7 and 10% over, from a traffic perspective, over where we were during the summer. So that has continued to be, and is reflective of a lot of the recovery efforts that are ongoing. You heard Ryan talk about some of the recovery efforts that the ROG helped manage. And one thing he didn't mention is that we had over 150 people, either AT&T employees or contractors associated with AT&T, who were in the theater, helping with the recovery. So a small army came in very quickly to help manage and distribute some of the assets there. On the first day of the derecho, we saw outages at 157 sites. So as you all know, this is a massive event that happened very quickly, and primarily was power issues, but we did see a combination of power and transport. After the first day, we had resolved almost 50% of those sites, and within 3 days, we were at the 85% mark. So pretty quickly, we're able to resolve a lot of the power issues through the 103 portable generators that were deployed by that team of people, who were led from local people in Des Moines. So my engineer Brian Cole, who some of you know, was sitting right next to our operations group every day, and helping to prioritize those, like Ryan was talking about too, specifically requests from FirstNet customers and users, and then making sure that sites that were critical were backed up. The last part I wanted to cover was the plan for generators is quite substantial for Iowa. So as part of the FirstNet program, we are required by contract to be done with our initial build by mid or end of first quarter, early second quarter of 2023. And as part of that, we've deployed well over 100 generators in the last year and a half or so, and have over 130 planned for next year as well. And over 30 of those are specifically for covering and supporting PSAPs and emergency operations centers and FirstNet customer locations. So there's a fairly large uplift underway already, not necessarily as a response to the derecho, but certainly becomes even more important when we kind of see the impact of some of these storms that are becoming more frequent now. So a very large uplift in terms of permanent generators. Overall, the network from the derecho was recovered completely by September 1st, was when the last site came back up. We do have temporary assets, temporary towers at 2 sites still that were destroyed during the storm, but we're back on the air there on a temporary asset basis. So that's where I will stop my remarks. I know that there was a lot of discussion on the meeting earlier this week with the FirstNet group. So I'm sure if there are other questions, they would be able to answer those later on as well.
I think that's it on our end. Thank you, Chair Lampe. Appreciate it.
You bet. And we all appreciate the rapid response to something that came across Iowa in a rapid form. We had no time to. Sometimes when you have a hurricane, at least you have some time to plan. But in this case, the hurricane that we had, there was no time. But your response to deal with the issues what caused the outages is much appreciated. So the attention we got was great. So I appreciate the quick service to get everything back as fast as you could. We learned some lessons, yes, and then we'll move forward from that. So as long as we keep communicating at the broadband committee level on what you're doing, and then we push that out to our regional interoperability committees and then eventually the board, I think we'll be fine. The communication between us is the key to move forward. All right, we'll move on. Is Jim Lundstedt on the phone?
Yes, sir. Good morning, Chair Lampe. Is the audio okay?
Yeah, go right ahead.
Okay. Good morning. First, congratulations, fair winds and following seas. Well deserved, and I've enjoyed the 10+ years you and I have had the opportunity to work together. From CISA ECD today, just a couple of very quick updates. First, my consistent reminder about the threats of ransomware. Public resource often tells you public sources will tell you that ransomware is everywhere, and it is a constant threat, particularly in the elections and COVID-19 environment. So continued attention to the threats received through phishing, smishing, bishing. There's a whole litany of new vocabulary words that describe how people attempt to sucker you into accepting the bad stuff from the internet. Second, Swick Myers has been a frequent contributor to our training recommendations through our technical assistance program. Pleased to report that we are well underway on planning the virtual delivery of the All Hazards Communications Unit Leader program. This required quite a bit of coordination with FEMA. It is not quite yet ready for delivery, but within a few short months, we will be able to deliver the COMEL training course via WebEx training portals. So we're working on that and hope to have that finished and ready for use at the state and local level before the end of the year. That concludes my reports, pending any questions.
Thanks, Jim. Let's move on to the standards working group. Chris, do you have anything to report on that?
Yeah, Standards Working Group met at the conclusion of last month. They reviewed some standards, including non-governmental EMS, but nothing was moved to the governance committee for review. So they're still working on a few things there. The Standards Working Group did get a request from some of the committees to look at the possibility of a patching standard and what that may entail. The group realized that given that there is a wide range of equipment in PSAPs today, it may be better to draw up a procedural guidance document that includes where, when, and possibly how to patch, discuss technical aspects related to VHF patching, conventional patching, and trunk network patching. And also, if we do have a patch with a conventional resource like a VLAW 31 or a VCall 10, when and how to hand that patch off to the neighboring communications center if that becomes necessary. One of the remaining things that we have to work through is whether we will be able to avoid conflicts in the heat of the moment with a guidance document rather than a standard or a policy. That discussion is expected to continue when we meet again in September. So with that being said, that'll be the report for the Standards Working Group. I'll take any questions.
All right, hearing none. Thanks. Let's move on to old business. The first up is the sub-regional talk groups update. Michelle, do you have anything on that?
I'm sorry, I was distracted. An update on the air to ground?
The sub-regional.
No, the sub-regional. I know you gave some.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm like, I know we're in old business. How far into old business did we get? My apologies. The sub-regional, no update on that. There's at the end of October, our police department will be going live. At the 1st of December, our fire department will be going live. That is City of Des Moines. I know Polk County will have their radios, or either have them, they already are completed, or they're in progress of handing out their radios. I'm not 100% sure where Westcom is. We're still on track, I believe, to have everyone with the sub-regional talk groups programmed in their radios disseminated by the end of the year. So come first of the year, we'll be able to have some experience, and we will report that back out to the board.
Okay.
Are there any questions for me regarding sub-regional?
Thanks for the work on that. That's a big undertaking. There's a lot of work to do, but I think you're progressing well on that.
Thank you. Yeah, we're excited to get it in place.
Yeah. Control station update, Chris. You have anything on that? I think everybody's got a control station, and I think everybody, and what I mean by everybody is PSAPs. I think they all have access now and have answered a call, so we're confident, which was one of the goals before Leah went away. We're confident. I think we're ahead of schedule because I think we got 51 days left here until Leah is officially unsupported, but I think we're in a good place right now. I'll let you elaborate if you have anything.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair. So for all the equipment we've given out, everybody has been able to complete a test call. So all the PSAPs should have at least a basic connection to Isicsb for interoperability. The one thing now that we're starting to shift focus to is continued training. We're of course doing the regional training sessions, but we're also offering one-on-one PSAP training. We've been able to deliver this to several PSAPs over the last several months. It's enough that I've lost count. And state radio supervisors have also been doing that, and they've been doing an excellent job in making sure that local communication center operators understand how to use the interoperable talk groups. That training is still available, and it's expected to be offered in perpetuity. So if you want that, get in contact with Robbie Johansson, Luke Erpeldinger, Chad Roberts, or myself, or Sergeant Hove, and we'll get you set up. We have been able to accommodate these requests both in person and virtually, depending on the current policies of the comm center. We've got that set up so we can do it both ways. As far as some of the more germane components of that grant, I'll be working on our quarterly report to HSCMD here over the next couple of weeks, and also tidying up the inventory of those equipment purchases so that everything is ready to go for grant closeout whenever that may happen.
All right. Thanks for the work on that. That itself, getting all those control stations programmed, trained, we're still continuing to train, and now to have all of them done is a tremendous accomplishment. So thank you for doing that. And I'm sure it'll keep on getting better and better, and a lot easier for people to use it. Like I said, I hear it every day, and it's a great pleasure for me to hear those broadcasts on the regional instead of a static Leah channel. So good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I'll happily deflect all the credit, though. There are a lot of people that made this happen. Walzer out of Cedar Rapids, huge with the development of programming and things like that. And also DPS with the assistance and the space to store all the stuff while it was delivered and then disseminated out. And then, of course, all the local PSAPs that devoted the staff time to pick up the equipment, to get it installed. Mind you, the PSAPs had to take that initiative themselves, so they deserve a tremendous amount of credit as well. And then the continued focus on receiving training. I mean, there's a lot of thanks to give out. Many people helped out with this. HSCMD for all their help as well with the grant organization and purchasing and things like that, reimbursements. And also Andy Buffington, who helped us get all this started as well. So there's too many names to name during this meeting, but there's a lot of people that played into this. So thank you.
You bet. Okay, you might as well keep moving. Do you have the shared systems study group is what I have you down for next?
Yeah. I just muted my line here, but I'll fire it back up. So the shared systems study group last met on Wednesday, August 26th. We're at the stage now where we're focusing on editing the document that will eventually hopefully be before the board. What we did at the last meeting was going over some suggested changes and feedback from the July meeting, incorporating that into the document, and then coming up with hopefully what will be a finished product. That document has been disseminated to the working group members, and at this point they are reviewing it, and we have an online voting portal set up for them to approve the minutes for August and also the document itself. Assuming that we have agreement that the document's in good form and ready to be moved up to the committees for review, that'll be the next step in the process. So I'll go ahead and conclude my report for the Shared System Study Group at this time. I don't necessarily want to get the cart before the horse, but I'll go ahead and take any questions.
So we're gonna, the board's gonna maybe at the next board meeting expect your findings.
Possibly, yeah. We could do an overview of the findings. We'll see how we are with the approval of the document at that point in time. I'm assuming that the technology committee will want to review some of the findings as well. So we'll work through those processes and see where we stand for next month.
Yeah, there's no need to rush it. I was just kind of getting the idea of what to expect here. But
yeah, we could do something.
That's another massive undertaking that has taken place here. I'm sure it'll be a very thorough report. All right, air to ground policy update. Who's taking on that one? Is that Patrick? Is he still on the line?
Yeah, I'm here. I guess I don't remember. I guess I don't remember what the update was.
Hey, Patrick, this is Chris. I can help you out with some of the stuff.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. So, yeah, Chris, if you can bail us out, we'd appreciate it.
So we posted it last month for public comment. We've had a handful of comments so far. We did disseminate it out to every known air medical provider in the state. There's some fairly large groups that handle the vast majority of the hospitals in Iowa, and we've gotten positive comments from them on the board's adoption of these channels. We did get some feedback, though, that I think is pretty important to recognize, in that we do need to, and with any policy or standard that comes from this, we need to articulate when should these actually be used. So, for example, the concern was from a local sheriff's office saying that the deputies would, like these channels to be available, but they would prefer to use the regional tax when it comes to landing the helicopter if the regional tax are accessible wherever they may be. And the reason for that then is that not only can they talk to the air medical vehicle, they can also talk to the PSAP, and if the hospital has access to the system where they're dispatching from, they'll be able to hear everything as well. So the feedback we got from the local sheriff's office was, if we're going to do this and this is adopted, please set up the hierarchy that the first preference goes to the Isicsb platform as a whole for the interoperable talk groups to be used for coordination if they're available, and then fall back to these air-to-ground channels if the regional talk groups may not be workable at that one given time. Otherwise, that's the bulk of the feedback we've gotten so far. I will update the board on any changes to that.
So Chris, I have a procedural question. This is Michelle.
Really?
So with those comments and with one of them requesting additional information, presumably that those comments should go back to technology operations, the standards working group, those that really helped formulate the policy to consider the feedback and either make changes or respond to those making the comments, I presume. Is that accurate?
Yes. And I get the sense we'll be adjusting this somewhat. In speaking personally with the sheriff that made the comment, his feedback was, this policy, it probably needs to be there, but just please point us to the actual way to use these and make sure that everything is buttoned up and at least points to some other type of reference document if that's where that procedure is going to lie, so that we minimize the potential risk of someone just finding the policy and then maybe misinterpreting that policy and how to use that policy, and then creating more confusion down the road. So the groups will have to meet again to discuss the comments and make necessary edits and go from there.
Very well. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to new business. The first item up on new business is new Isicsb approval. Chair Buffington will handle that. If you're still there, go right ahead.
Yes, the user group committee has reviewed and approved the 3 applications, 2 updates and a new one for the board to consider. So with that, the user group committee brings forward a motion to approve Blakesburg Fire and Rescue updated level 2, O'Brien County Emergency Management Agency to level 2, and Pottawatomie County updated level 2.
Are you making that as a motion?
Yes, I am.
Okay, so we have a motion to approve Blakesburg Fire level 2, O'Brien EMA level 2, Pottawatomie County update level 2, as well as Blakesburg Fire update. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Bischoff will second.
Bischoff seconds. Further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Thank you. LTE deployable policy. Chris, are you handling that piece?
I believe Chair Updike is going to handle that if he's still on.
Okay, Chair Updike.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and Chris, you can back this up a little bit because you've worked on it quite a bit too. But the LTE deployable policy was pulled back and for review here a few months ago, and so through a couple of meetings, those edits and changes were made. And then it was left to cook for a while, if you will. And now the time has come where everybody appears to be satisfied with the way that it is. And so we are at a point now where I would make a motion and to put it out for 60-day comment, just to err on the side of caution with this, which gives those stakeholders ample time to review this and provide any input that they would have that would, be of some concern to them. Chris, you want to expand on that?
Yeah. We had some pretty extensive phone calls with the stakeholders that brought forth some initial comments after the policy's initial inception. Worked with them and kind of elaborated and explained kind of perspectives from multiple sides. And that feedback was taken into the document, and in the end, everybody was agreeable to its contents. This is relatively timely. If you look back to how things played out during the derecho, we had several LTE companies looking to deploy assets to help sustain their customers where the derecho hit pretty hard. So again, this policy is designed to kind of help with coordination and protect everybody and help them still get what they want. So that's kind of where we stand with it. Chair Updike, I'll pass it back to you.
Okay. So I'm going to make the motion that the LTE deployable policy be posted for 60-day comment as it's written.
Okay, as written, and is it included in the board documents here today? Does everybody, do we have that final document that's going to be posted? Did somebody?
Chris, I don't know if it made it out with the email.
I don't recall anybody sending it to me.
Yeah, it was not included in the email.
Okay, so I do have a motion to post it as written. However, if no board members have taken a look at it, if you're still comfortable, I'll take that motion, but we'll see how it goes here. So I still have a motion. If there's a second, I'll take it.
Bischoff will second. I have reviewed the document with technology.
Okay, so the motion is for
if others feel comfortable voting on it, I guess that's, I mean.
Yeah, we'll do a roll call on it. Okay. So what the motion is the 60-day comment period for the document is written for the FirstNet stakeholder document. Michelle has seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay, let's do a roll call, Holly.
Okay, Trace Kendig. Trace Salon. Patrick Updike.
Aye.
Peter Huffman.
Aye.
Cindy Hike.
Aye.
Tom Lampy.
Aye.
Blake Jerushi.
Aye.
Wendy Hess. Andy Buffington.
Aye.
Michelle Bischoff.
Aye.
David Ness. Haley Nichols.
Sorry, aye.
And okay, that's 8, so we're good.
Did it pass, Holly? I know it wasn't painted.
Yeah, it passes.
Okay. Okay, the motion passes. So we'll post that for 60 days. Holly, I'll get that document. Make sure it goes, and let's make sure it goes to the proper distribution group as well. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Next item up for agenda, one of the last is the public comment period. So now it is open up for public comment. If anybody on the line would like to address the board, now's your time. Okay, hearing none. Motion for adjournment.
I'll make that motion, Huffman.
Okay, Peter, second.
Bischoff will second.
Bischoff, we are adjourned. Thank you all. See you next month.
Thank you.